You can say whatever you want, but life is pretty trippy. If you have any drug experience, you know that tripping is quite an intensive something. But it is nothing compared to the continuous barrage that life is bringing on people. And as a result of that, people tend to run away. Look at what is happening in the United States right now. Because of the composition of the political situation and the social situation and the monsters that are being released on the people, as if this is already the apocalypse. They still have to wait for that. This is just trial run. But if you look at this, then you can see that there are going to be more and more reasons for people to flee into drugs, because life becomes too trippy. In everybody's life, there are moments where you think like, "Wow, I can't handle this anymore," and you learn to generally deal with all kind of things. If you look at young kids, you see that they have difficulty with all kind of stuff, and as a result of these difficulties, they learn to cope either in a traumatic fashion or in a non-traumatic fashion of sorts. And in general, as Daoists see it, they are in a form of continuous panic state. And this continuous panic state is the result of life actually happening to them, and that is being taken with them when they grow up, and it is the cause of their lack of health, the cause of their angers, the cause of their desires, and the cause of their fears. Both Buddhism, Confucianism and Taoism, they have been trying to figure out how to resolve this thing. And actually everybody with a little bit of an altruistic or a socially minded head on its body or a heart that has been trying to figure out how can we relieve the suffering of people. And education is one means. Healthcare is another one. Taoism, Buddhism, Confucianism, they saw also a large part of healthcare being part of your personal responsibility. There were no insurance companies in the past, so you have to understand there were no insurance companies. Even in the modern present time, insurance companies in Asia, they're not the same like the ones in Europe, and they're certainly not like the ones in the United States. We tend to think of these countries as inhumane, but in fact they found other solutions for the same problems, because people have the same problems all over the world and they have developed their own techniques, and meditation is one of these techniques. And at the end I'm going to tell you what the meditation role is in, for instance, Chinese medicine. But here at this point I'm going to talk to you about particular kind of aspects of meditation, and I'm going to introduce you to two basic techniques in meditation. And the first one is just a very simple one. I have a longer course for the 100-day challenge of meditation to help you develop your Dantian and to stabilize your Dantian in the Neidan process, in the meditation process. But in this case, I'm going to basically show you some basic preparations for that. A little bit like mindfulness. Mindfulness is not really a meditation, but it makes you mindful of the fact that you are actually involved in reality, and as a result of that you can start thinking about things. But then after that you have to really meditate, and meditation starts then with calming your mind, calming your emotions, calming your, well, all kind of stuff, and then from there you start rebuilding and restructuring yourself, and you try to develop the kind of stoic kind of personality that does not get upset very easily from things. I use the word stoic because a lot of people in the West, they know the word stoic, but Taoism in its own way has a form of stoicism where they want to be fully engaged with reality and stay calm at the same time. They don't want to really retreat, although they do not engage in a passionate sense as marketing would like you to do with all kind of things. This video is not sponsored in any other way than by you looking at this video, or by joining our Patreon, or coming to follow a course on our SEM card program. At the moment, when you are following our weekly classes with the help of our Google Meet, then at that moment you are also partaking in that, because all the things that I do are there to help people get informed about both Taoism and Chinese medicine, and what I would normally call authentic Chinese medicine. So let's get on with this. This was a rather long introduction of almost 4 or 5 minutes, and let's go talk about some aspect that we need to talk about. Let me first explain to you that Daoist meditations between different Daoist factions are not the same. At this moment, almost everybody knows the split off between Zhengyi and Zhuangzhen Daoism, if you are involved with Taoism. And the Zhengyi is more like a family kind of Taoism, where people are allowed to marry, but they do all kind of rituals to help the community go forward. They also do curses, magic, write talismans, and so on and so on. And then there is the Zhuangzhen Taoism, which has absorbed the monastic principles of the Buddhist religion, which is based on the training of soldiers. So they took some of these parts and they took it into the alchemical reality of Taoism as a whole, and also into the officialhood or the scholarship tradition of Taoism as a whole. So they have changed it. So Buddhist monastic life and Daoist monastic life, even though there are similarities and they borrowed from each other, they have different kind of purposes. They're not the same, even though they also use each other's literature and they use aspects of each other's meditation. That is another chapter. We have to talk about that another time probably. But at this time I want to focus you on the idea that different Daoist factions, they have different kind of meditations. Meditations very often are a little bit alike, so superficially looking, they all seem to be the same, but in reality the different factions have different details, and there's a layering of three in which you can recognize what is what. And at the top, this is where the scriptures are. You see a lot of similarities. From the beginning of Daoist history, the government has always tried to standardize the literature of it. I have here behind this curtain the Dao Zhang, and I have several other books here on the side, left and right, piled up to explain a little bit about the Daoist culture, Daoist philosophy, and Daoist things. I translate these kind of things, and my core translation work right now is, besides a core lecture material for Taoism and Chinese medicine, is also the teachings of Zhang Sanfeng, because as a Xuan Wu Pai follower, disciple, I am part of Shantian Taoism, and as a result of that I have to also involve myself deeper and deeper into the theoretical framework to understand what these things are. As a PhD graduate and as a PhD student right now, I also have to fulfill my academic requirements. So continuously I am shifting between the left and the right, between the front and the back, between the inside and the outside, because the two, they are not always matching very well, and I try to please everybody, so I try to show things as much as possible from both perspective, both knowledge perspective and a experiential perspective. Myself, I meditate, I think since I was 11, and I'm now 61, so that's 50 years. 50 years, yeah, nice round amount of years. I think that is correct. I went to meditate because I was really scared, and somebody said, well, maybe you should go meditate, because at the moment when you go through such traumatic things like operations, disease, and all the traumas that come with it, being bullied, moving a lot between houses, stabilizing your mind would be a good idea. At that time, not very many people meditated, and certainly kids did not meditate. And I had, from that moment onward, a love affair with both Qigong, meditation, yoga, and later on also with Tai Chi Chuan, Kung Fu as Tai Chi Chuan, and also Daoyin breathing practice, and so on and so on. My first understanding of meditation was not Daoist, because at that time, here in the Netherlands, the word Taoism, there was a book about Euro-Taoism from Peter Sloterdijk, that's a Dutch name, but I think he's from Germany, and that was about everything that we knew about Taoism. When I felt attracted to anarchism, I saw references to Taoism, and when I was attracted to Buddhism, I was mostly interested in that because it related most closely in the West to Taoism. And for good reasons, because in Wudang Daoism, which is the third branch that I want to talk about, this is very different in many ways from Zhengyi and Zhuangzhen, and there are some similarities, but there are also some differences. And the main differences we can find in the works of Zhang Sanfeng. So to investigate these more and more, I will pay attention to Zhang Sanfeng and my translation of his work in the coming months. More and more often, because I am completing now also the poems of Zhang Sanfeng, which explain a lot about the alchemy of it. When I was studying over time, I also learned in Beijing with Daoists. I learned from Daoists from Beijing, those are not only in Beijing. I learned in Wuhan, where I learned the breathing practice from Zhang, the one that I am actually referring to also in the class that you are going to see recordings from. And at the moment when I was in Wudang Shan, I also studied with different teachers, but of course mainly Yao Xuan De, Sifu Yao Xuan De, and also Sri Wang Guang De when he was still alive. And I started studying with him in Germany actually, and he was going to come to my school. My school unfortunately wasn't big enough to make that step, but he sent me one of his at that moment assistants, Tian Liang. And Tian Liang was actually a student, a disciple from Yao Xuan De. So indirectly I eventually ended up with Yao Xuan De and realized now Tian Liang is my brother, because I did not follow him to go meet my Sifu. I went to Wang Guangde because I considered him a very valuable teacher at that time, and not without reasons, of course. So at the moment when I studied there, I also studied in Chengdu, I studied in Jingzhenshan, and I had different meditation teachers from different traditions there. Also, I had some connections with Zhengyi teachers in Hong Kong, and in Guangzhou I also went to study a little bit there with some Zhongshan people there. And so as a whole I had quite a range of people. In Shanghai, where I lived also for a while, I didn't have that many close contacts, but I had some interviews with Daoists, and as a result of that I got some information from there too. My main interest was though Chinese medicine, so I also did interviews with schools of Chinese medicine in all these cities, wherever they were, and I studied at some of them. I studied with several teachers who were also having private practice, private teachings for students. So as a result of that I have a very wide understanding. I went to libraries, built my own library, and came to understand some of the values we should be able to recognize in Chinese medicine and where they deviate from the past. So what I teach in my school, I call usually authentic Chinese medicine, and I use transculturalist sociological and anthropological theories to show the relevance of trying to teach Chinese medicine as it authentically was, and how Daoists actually try to promote this, and how TCM is not wrong in the sense that it does not give any results. So it's not a medicine in error, but it is something new, and it is mostly subservient to Western medicine, and it is not really Chinese medicine anymore, even though it is being promoted by Chinese people. The Chinese people themselves, they might not be aware of it all the time. I've spoken enough with people from Chinese medicine universities. They feel that it is part of an ancient tradition because this is how they learn it. But in reality, when you go to a Chinese medicine school, and you can ask that to several people in China, most of the things that they learn is Western medicine, and as a result that they could work in a Western medicine hospital in China without anybody noticing that they did study Chinese medicine. So this is what I mean. The amount of knowledge that they get from Chinese medicine is limited, and Chinese medicine is extensive, so you need to study a lot. And I'm very much in favor of people studying Chinese medicine in their original context when they want to study Chinese medicine, and not in the TCM context, and certainly not in a medicalized context in the West as the French and the Americans and every European country has been doing it. And it's the same story for Japanese medicine, it's the same story for Korean medicine, it's the same story for Vietnamese medicine and Mongolian medicine. It is a process that is going on as a result of colonization, and in a way authentic Chinese medicine is a form of decolonizing Chinese medicine, and as a result of that trying to return to its roots. And it is to a large degree reconstruction, so translation is a very important part. In Daoist meditation, when we talk about Daoist meditation, you can clearly see that Daoist meditation is a way of getting to understand the physical structure of your body, but it is also an understanding to understand the structure of the sky, as a structure of the earth, and all kind of other factors that are playing a role in our life, so that we become as complete as possible. When you look at that and we look at the root of these things, this is now what we're going to practice. And we go first to the first set. And the first set that we're going to practice with is actually the practice of sitting. Just sitting. Da Zuo. Da Zuo is a very simple practice, but you have to prepare for it, because if you just go sit in meditation, it just doesn't work. You have to make sure that you sit locked between heaven and earth. That means your body has to be open, the three gates have to be open, the crown and the perineum have to be on top of each other. And in the beginning, it is just a matter of sinking. Just follow the class. Yep. Okay. So at all we are sitting. Let's first try to sit properly. Hope that my phone doesn't fall off. And we butterfly to make ourselves easy. And we strengthen our leg, we lengthen our leg, relax. Guide your knee if necessary. And also on the other side. Okay. We make long with the even side of the legs, and then on the other side we lift the foot and pull and push out. And we pull and we push out. And we push like we're rowing a canoe. Lift the feet in your lotus if you can. Lift up. Go to the right. Go to the left. Go to the right. Go to the left. Hold up. And go forward. And roll up. That should be to go down, stretch yourself flat against the floor so that your groin also is opened, and then come back. Go backwards in case your space is not big enough, and then go forward, also stretch out, open up your groin further, then lift yourself up to open up your groin. If anything falls out of your pocket, throw it to the side. Let me go first a little bit forward. Oh. Rotate your neck. Opposite direction. And embrace yourself. And rotate your whole body, trunk, into the socket of your hips. Also in the opposite direction. Okay, so we go do this practice in 2 steps, right? The first step is that we just sit, feel our body weight sink down, our breath coming down, so that the shen can sink into the body and jing can be built up from the bottom, and we try to let that flourish, right? So that's the first stage. We take a few minutes for this to prepare ourselves, so you focus basically on that process, just to get into the meditation.
Just feeling your weight sinking?
Yep. Your weight, you allow your weight to sink on the floor so that you sink solidly.
And do you feel an upward
And then
something?
the counter force of your body weight comes up through your body. That's the jing, right? You're developing. And it comes eventually to your outer form. So you pay attention to your outer form. The thing is that what you're doing right now is actually accumulating the breath will gradually sink downward, the sun also will come downward, and it will gradually shape the Dantian. As a natural process, it will activate the Dantian.
Where you feel it coming up from, like when we're standing, we feel it coming up from the heel.
Just from wherever you lean on the floor. So the body weight, wherever it comes, that's usually your seated bones and your perineum.
Okay.
Open up the 3 gates, of course, to make sure that you facilitate the free flow of yang steam in your dumai. Keep your tongue to your palate. You can keep your eyes open. You can keep your eyes semi-closed, doesn't really matter. When you keep your eyes semi-closed, it's good to watch to the nose, and from your nose look at your heart and then look down into the belly, so that you help to bring the heat from your heart down into your belly.
Look at your heart? How do you look at your heart?
You look from between the eyes, you look to the tip of the nose, and then you look at your heart, and then you look down, so that in the process of looking down, with your out breath, you can feel that the heat of your heart is being brought down together with the movement of the lungs coming down and the weight coming down, so that it also comes into the Dantian, feeds the Mingmen. So it brings the heat from the heart into the Mingmen. Natural heat.
You recording them?
Yeah, on a separate video, not on the group
Yeah, I
video.
don't see. Okay, thanks.
I did it because otherwise the quality is not good enough for public video.
So the heat of the heart goes down to where?
To the belly, to the Dantian, basically. everybody feels a bit calm on the inside. In that case, take your hands in the eternal loop situation, where you put your thumbs of your right finger and the middle finger. At the moment when you feel that you're ready with these practices, it is important to make sure that you close yourself up at the moment from everything. So this is just a very simple practice, and you don't need to do very much. Just rubbing your palms, rubbing your face, your hair, your head, rubbing behind the skull, your neck, your shoulders, your renmai, go down, hold the dantian, rub on the backside of your legs to make sure that everything is going to run smoothly and that you can start moving again is mostly the most important part. If you are in a lotus position and you have sleeping feet, then at that moment gradually rotate your feet like this to make sure that you actually create more blood circulation. And at the moment when you feel that you've done that, you shake and you applaud yourself for doing a good job. And at the moment when you have done that, then at that moment you're going to be free to do your daily things. And most advisable is to, after meditation, not to immediately go eat. Take 1 hour, 2 hours before you go eat. Don't go immediately sleeping because you train your mind to shut down completely after meditation. That is not good, because then after meditation you always will feel tired, and you don't want to do that. You want to build vitality. If you are going to do this and you want to continue and go deeper, I can definitely advise you our Dantian meditation cycle, and I will give you a link in the bottom in combination with Wudang Fitness and also food medicine, which are also very important as a base package to take care of your health. This is what I always advise to everybody, but each of these ones you can also follow separate. So if you feel like you want to only do the Dantian meditation, just connect with me, and then at that moment I will link you up with that, because I also have it separate. But I don't want to fill up the information below with too many links towards courses. One more time, I have to conclude and say this. This is not a, this is not a sponsored program. I don't make any money with these videos. I do this all only from the love of my heart. I hope you really enjoy it. That's my most primal circumstance, my most primal goal with these videos. If you feel like you want to sponsor me, of course I'm going to be grateful to you, and that is really very helpful. I will definitely be helped with that, because it makes that I can spend more time on doing these kind of things. At this moment I have to pay for all my costs for doing these things by by treating people, which is a great job. I'm very happy to be able to do that, and I would definitely like to do that just for fun instead of having to do it also because I need to earn some money. That will be great. And soon the I Ching book is coming out. This is a learning book about I Ching and about how the I Ching actually works, and it explains about Yin and Yang and Wu Xing. If you are really interested in these things, I would definitely advise you also to do a bachelor program, because it has a complete I Ching counselor course inside, and that counselor course can also be followed separate at the same time. And I will, for people who do alchemy, I can definitely advise to do this, because it has a lot of classics inside. For people who are interested in the classics itself and the text itself, sign up for the guide, the Sifu guide, because the Sifu guide collect all my translation work. Although the I Ching translation, there's a lot of stuff that is only in the bachelor in the I Ching course, for the simple reason that I need to make sure that these things are fully dedicated to people who are really seriously studying, because otherwise these things, they start leading their own life. So it's also to protect the material, and to protect also the copyrights from the original authors. And I look forward to see you in the next video. The next video we're going to talk about the I Ching actually. Thank you.